you don't know shit about it, don't fuck with it.
And that's how it's going to start this show. Happy Halloween. Welcome to the first episode of our limited edition Long Halloween podcast, Batman the Long Halloween. It'll be a full round table of some of the most knowledgeable people that I know when it comes to comic books and of the Bat itself. So let's go around the table and see who we got. To my right, we have representing the Christian Bale Batman, Mr. Jermon Jackson. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm a little hungover, even though I didn't drink at all last night. old man hungover.
Old man hungover.
Yes.
All right. You have your usual sparkling water with you.
Yes.
Nice to see that. And across the table, representing the Michael Keaton Batman, we have Ninja Dave Cunningham himself. How you doing?
Ninja Dave, wielder of the power cosmic.
Wielder of the power cosmic.
That's how you need to introduce me every show.
I got you every show. I'll make sure I remember that. So right
I thought I had an ego.
I won't let you
coming in here with the first time he's in the actual podcast studio, making demands already.
That's right.
It's
Really
good.
really got to step
back.
up the Germontourage's game there.
Yes. what a diva.
And then to my left, we have representing the Adam West Batman,
Brian Martin.
Brian Martin. How you doing, today, sir?
Doing fantastic.
Brought the most unwieldy
This
lobe
is,
and sail.
This is the keystone of the house that I live in. Like,
is it now?
Yeah. If you remove it from the bookshelf, the whole place falls apart.
I feel like
It's
they
a heavy
swear on,
book.
yeah, I feel like they
What'd
swear
you
on those
stick in
in
its
court
place?
cases.
Yeah, I just put the slipcover back in there and just cross my fingers. This is the absolute edition of the Long Halloween.
The swear to me version. All right then. So we're gonna be breaking down Batman the Long Halloween issue by issue, episode by episode, giving you 13 episodes in this limited series, dropping each holiday of the month. I think there's something like like August, something like that. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck we're gonna do for August. Well,
The holiday in the book at that point is Carmine Falcone's birthday.
all right then. Close
Sure.
enough.
It's like-
Is
Is that a national holiday now?
We'll get that off before we actually
Spoilers.
get off for voting. Yes, spoilers. Carmine Falcone is in this book. So before we get into the Long Halloween, man, let's do a little bit of Batman talk, so we can just get a nice ground firm establishment of Batman preferences and where we're all coming from. So let's around the table. Why do we love the Bat so much? Let's start with you, Jamal.
He is just one of those characters that is so the whole mythos is so fascinating to me. Just like coming up in a universe with the Superman, your Wonder Womans, your Green Lanterns, all these basic gods,
Right.
and see just a regular dude like just doing stuff on a godlike level is something else. And to me, he has bar none the best rogues gallery in comics.
I can deal with that. I can deal with that. What about you, Dave?
Batman is very much a rich Spider-Man without powers, with kind of a sassy Aunt May, Alfred. But his whole deal is handling street level crime in his city. So he's very much a neighborhood Spider-Man, but he's got more resources. But it's interesting how you've seen the character evolve, and you've seen him join all these superheroic teams where everyone's got powers, and they're handling things on a global scale. But at the end of the day, he's a guy who is he's handling things in his own community. Maybe not the best way, but maybe not the healthiest way. But just reading this series and watching the animated series, he's a guy who at his core wants to handle just the day-to-day in his city.
Word. What about you, Brian?
You remember when like Barack Obama was running for president and they were like, oh, he's just a community organizer. Do you think the Justice League has the same conversations about that?
Here's what we should do: sit down, alderman. We'll handle
Right.
this.
Yeah. No, he's everybody's kind of said it. You know, he's a very community focused person. He lives in the worst community in the world, evidently.
Right.
And the Rogues Gallery is second to none. That's really what makes the character, I think. He's got the most dynamic and memorable rogues gallery in comics.
And it seems like each one is basically an opportunity for a character study into, Batman himself. And
Yeah, I mean, really, Batman's all about like what happens when mental health care isn't good enough.
yeah, yeah,
He should have been in therapy from the time he was 10
yes.
to present day.
I mean,
and yet he wasn't, and this is the end result of it.
Yeah, he clearly has PTSD and has not dealt with it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, a healthy. Well, then again, you think about it, like a healthy shrink could have capped all this early on.
Yeah.
But then Gotham would have been in rubble a long time ago if that was the case.
At the same time, like a lot of the villains that he has faced have been a direct result of his existence. So
True.
Yeah,
So let's
well,
talk-
that's what's great about this book is because it gives you a look at what Gotham was like before all the crazies showed up, and it really that's what this whole book is about, is that transition from the Gotham City that existed in Frank Miller's Year One to the Gotham City we all know and love, where like Two-Face is tying Batman to a giant quarter and rolling him down the street.
Let's talk about some of our favorite Batman runs. Talking about the crazies that have showed up throughout the years that fucking 80 years Batman's been around. We'll toss back over to you, Brian. What is your favorite Batman run, or a couple of them?
Well, I mean, a cheat would be to say the animated series, which I think is the definitive version of Batman, and it retells
seen it.
it retells
You haven't seen
all
it?
the best stories.
What?
Yeah, it's crazy that you have not seen that yet. But
Oh my god!
like they adapt some of the most memorable stories of the 60s and 70s. They go in a lot of original directions on it, but every story is bent on getting to the root of who the villain is. Like who is this villain on a deeper level, and that's how they manage to tell so many iconic stories about these characters. Like the version of Mr. Freeze we recognize is a direct result of the animated series.
Okay.
Harley Quinn exists because of the animated series. But beyond that, I think Neil Adams' run from the 70s is remarkable. Alan Davis's brief run on Detective was really, really memorable. Frank Miller left an obviously huge impact on Batman, for better and worse.
We don't talk about the Dark Knight Strikes again.
You let anything go long enough, and
see yourself become the villain.
That's just they
You
announced
let
another
anything
one
go
this
long
week.
enough, and eventually Karen Page will be a prostitute, giving away Daredevil's identity for crack.
They announced another Frank Miller written Dark Knight Returns book this week, and I'm like, here we fucking go again.
This is like a one shot, right? I think
I hope so.
Yeah, I like Dark Knight Strikes or Dark Knight 3.
Yeah, but he also wasn't the only creative force behind it.
Yeah,
Like that's
Azzarello
my
was in
theory. You
there.
always need somebody to temper that.
Yeah.
But that said, Year One, fantastic. And in fact, I think Year One's probably better. I prefer it more than Dark Knight Returns.
Word. What about you, Dave? What else are your favorite Bat runs? Do you have any?
Yeah, of course. I've got, of course, the animated series stuff. I think all of us can agree, except for you who haven't seen it. Someone get this man a DVD set.
Amazon keeps putting it on sale.
Hey, I think
too.
it'll be
Like,
on. Maybe it'll be on Disney Plus. Who knows?
Yes, somehow.
Fuck you, Warners.
We're taking it.
I love
What you gonna do about it?
I love his awesome stuff, his detective stuff from the 80s, primarily. I enjoyed the incarnation of the Nolan films, specifically the second film. A few of the animated series here and there. The was it the Batman Beyond series was pretty interesting. But yeah, it's just for me, Batman stuff is I've always kind of slid in, caught some story arcs, slid out, kind of go from there.
Kept moving. What did you do?
It goes without saying, of course, the Nolan trilogy and the animated series. But I think one of the most memorable runs for me was Grant Morrison's run on Batman, because for me in comics, I'm a big fan of progression. I like, where a creator leaves the book in a place different from where he started. And Morrison definitely did that with Batman. He actually propelled the whole, mythos further with, introducing Damian Wayne and eventually, leading into Batman Inc., which I thought was an amazing concept for Batman.
Right.
Which, perfectly made sense for him as a character. I was like, Yeah, why doesn't he just come out and say, "Hey, I'm Bruce Wayne. I've been financing Batman for years. I'm going to franchise this."
That was like Batman's version of Spider-Verse.
Yeah,
You know?
Right.
yeah, and they had some got to introduce some very interesting versions of Batman.
I really
throughout
love Knight
that.
and Squire.
Yeah,
Knight and Squire are
yeah,
my favorite to
yes.
come out of that run.
And was it Man of Bats, the Native American?
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
As that arc where they're all on that island
Yeah.
with that murder mystery
Yeah.
kind of mansion thing. Great.
Yeah,
Great
and
run.
I love and see because Ra's al Ghul is one of my favorite Batman villains, so I love the fact that story kind of revolved around him and Talia and everything.
Word. For me, man, it's got to be as far as Batman runs. Besides Loeb and Sale's handling of bats, which is almost always perfect. The Snyder run.
Oh,
the
yeah.
New 52. A lot of people, while it was happening, was like, nah, I don't like the New 52. And then Rebirth came, and, well, Rebirth is good. People will look back like, maybe New 52 wasn't as bad as we thought it was. Most of my favorite DC runs have came out of the New 52 era. And I think at the top of that list of things that was happening was the Scott Snyder Batman run, which to me, because it went Morrison, Snyder, and then King, right?
Yeah.
I think Snyder's is... There's a while I was like, "Ooh, Tom King might overtake Scott Snyder on the scale of epicness," but he's kind of fizzling out. I think as he closes out his run.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to have the impact that Snyder's run has ultimately.
Yeah, and even towards the end of Snyder's run, I was like, the Jim Gordon in a giant fucking mechanical bat suit was kind of weird, and then the Bruce Wayne losing his memory and all that kind of stuff I wasn't a fan of. But
He was taking chances though.
he was taking chances. I'll give him that. And Tom King has had some amazing. Like his first maybe 50 or 60 issues was just wildness.
Yeah, I actually liked his run of Grayson. That was actually really good.
Was it? I never checked that
Yeah,
out.
it's like him and of course they flipped.
It was the same creative team.
Yeah.
It was him and
Man?
Mikhail
Was it?
Janin.
Janet, I think, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And they kind of completely flipped genres and everything. Did like a spy thriller with Dick Grayson, which was fun.
Good to know that. All right, so
Good
let's
stuff. And I also, if you haven't checked out Snyder's pre-New 52 Batman stuff from Detective Comics, that stuff I think is better than his New 52 stuff. Like Black Mirror and he did some really, really awesome stories.
I got Black Mirror sitting on the bookshelf. I don't think I've ever actually read it.
Oh man, it is tasty.
Tasty, he says. Tasty. All right, so let's talk about this Long Halloween. So to put this into perspective, it is my favorite Batman story of all time. Most people put The Dark Knight Returns at number one.
You sure you didn't want to do a podcast on your third favorite Batman?
I think this one leads to a good episodic podcast. And it also just happens to be my favorite Batman run. Conversely, Jermon over here has never fucking
This
read
is literally my first.
Long Halloween. Are you and you're reading it issue by issue as we do this? Okay, then. So we'll have to be wary of spoilers for things that happen in later on issues. But yeah, it's good to have.
So the only spoiler so far: Carmine Falcone gets to celebrate a birthday.
Damn it! I was looking forward to that.
How dare
I was
he.
about to bake a cake.
So at the end of this episode, we'll see if we can have some Jermon predictions on what he thinks can happen down the road or what could happen down the road. All this good stuff. So let's get into this joint. I'm gonna throw out a as brief as possible summary of this whole first issue. I always forget that this is kind of spun out of Batman Year One.
Yeah.
It's in the same universe where the Falcone showed up in Year One. And they're around for a little while.
And you can see the effects of Year One in this story. Falcone's got the scars that Catwoman left him with in Year One. And so Year One ends with Gordon on the rooftop talking about the Joker.
The Joker, yeah.
And so there's this transition to that Gotham I was talking about a second ago that we haven't seen because of Year One didn't really facilitate the transition from this mobster world to this garish, cartoonish supervillain world.
This Joel Schumacher world.
And Long Halloween is kind of setting out to do that.
Right.
Over the course of the series. And the costume characters become more and more pronounced the farther along you get. That's something I really love about it.
Boom. All right, then. Continuing the story originally started in Frank Miller's Batman Year One, The Long Halloween kicks off issue number one with a Gotham City that is mostly in the grip of Carmine Falcone. Bruce Wayne, the Prince of Gotham, stands between the mob boss and civility. Falcone wants corruption. Bruce wants justice. Imagine that. As a civilian, He does all that he can to block Falcone's grasp on Gotham, mainly by blocking his attempt to stash money at Gotham City Bank. Bruce takes a stance during the day and does some intimidating at night, leaving Falcone with no other option but to settle for an empty warehouse to stash all that cash. Bruce isn't the only one standing in the way, though. Gotham's White Knight, Harvey Dent, is working day and night to take down the Roman, which is the nickname of Carmine Falcone. Fearless, resilient, and intelligent, Dent is a dedicated lawyer, a loyal friend, and a passionate husband. Oh my. He wants to provide for his wife, Gilda, and make Gotham a safe city where he can raise a family. Unfortunately, it's a long road to finding peace, and he creates a pact with Captain Jim Gordon and Batman to take down the mob. More on that as it develops. While the battle of economics is underway, a killer is preparing for his or her first kill. A .22 caliber pistol, taped handle, and baby bottle nipple on the tip is all that's needed to sneak into the home of Johnny Vitti, Carmine Falcone's son, and silence him forever. Leaving a calling card, a pumpkin. The killer sneaks out, and no one is an apparent suspect. Back over to the battle on Carmine Falcone's empire. What's the fastest way to get to organized crime? Money. In an ingenious blaze of fury on Halloween, Dent and the Dark Knight play a major trick on the Roman, tracking down his hiding place, that stash full of cash, and burning it to the ground. And what appears to be a major win for Dent, Gordon, and Batman, as well as Gotham City, the lawyer returns home just as his wife is handing out candy to all the trick-or-treaters. With an extra spring in his step, he joins Gilda inside and discovers a package. Boom. The package explodes and blows that house up. Everyone should have died, but this is comics. What is y'all's favorite parts of this comic book, Dave?
I'd say I really enjoy the flirtation that's with Catwoman.
Yeah.
It harkens back to the Telltale Batman game that I have not finished yet because my PS3 died. I need to get back. I need to replace that so I can have that I can bang Catwoman. There you can actually do that in the game.
Oh my!
Yeah, I defy anybody to get to the point where you have to make that choice and not make that choice.
Right.
like the game, it's like there's branching options and things like that. Mm-hmm. Your ass is definitely saving Catwoman. Your ass is definitely banging Catwoman. Like, come on, you get to the end and it'll tell you what percentage of the players chose these passes. Like something like 96% bang Catwoman.
Anything else that sticks out to you?
Oh yeah. I mean, I love that the how grounded this series is. Like I say, when I was reading it, it made me think of the animated series because there was a lot of organized crime that Batman was taking down just methodically, and the interactions between the characters, especially Harvey Dent, kind of the wild card of the group, but just the interactions of the characters, it really grabbed me.
Yeah. What about you, Brian?
I mean, the opening is very grabbing, I think. There is absolutely no question from the moment this book starts that Loeb was boosting The Godfather.
Boosting? That's being generous.
It's Johnny Vitti's wedding, like Connie's wedding in The Godfather. The opening scene is all about favors and this crime boss. The opening line of the book is virtually the same opening line of The Godfather.
Yeah. Carmine Falcone literally looks like Marlon Brando.
But here's the big difference, though, is that in the Godfather, that opening scene is all about somebody being subservient and asking for Vito Corleone's help.
Yeah, murder.
And in this one, it's like a complete reversal of that because
Bruce is like,
it's Bruce, and he's like, "We are not friends. Whatever relationship your family had with my parents is null and void." Mm-hmm. It's a great defiant moment. It's quietly defiant, and I do love that. Still, my absolute favorite part of the book, and the first issue anyway, that I always go back to is the dialogue. It's very brief between Harvey and Batman when they discover the warehouse full of cash.
Yep.
And it's just this wonderful little telling bit of dialogue between the two of them, where Harvey's like, "Wow, if we were two different types of people," he's like, "We're not. I'm just saying, if we were, don't think about it." It's terrific. I love that.
Going back to the Godfather references, when Johnny gets shot in the bathtub, it is very reminiscent of The Godfather 2, where Frank Pentangeli slits his wrist in the bathtub.
Yep.
It's just shot from a different angle.
Yeah. You can get the same kind of the line. He's like when Catwoman and Batman are discovered in his office. He's like, in my own home, where my children sleep, on my nephew's wedding day.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It is very, very Godfathers, and that's probably one of the reasons why this is one of my favorite Batman stories. Because The Godfather is one of my favorite movies of all time. I think for me, my favorite part is the killing of Johnny Viti, just because Sale puts in some good work.
It is on point. I love, even earlier than that, the scene with the gun and the sanding off of the serial number, because it turns into that like 6-panel grid that's all black and white. I love those holiday moments throughout the series, but it's just striking, and it makes you feel like you're seeing something really, really private in contrast to the sort of larger story going on around you that everybody, like Batman's a part of and Catwoman's a part of. Right here, this vision's much narrower, and we're seeing from a very narrow perspective something that's happening, and we don't know whose perspective we're seeing it from.
Right.
And
It's
those,
a very private, intimate moment.
yeah. And I love the color change and everything for those.
What's your favorite part of this joint, John?
Well, there's a few things that stuck out to me. Of course, you had the color palette that they used throughout the book. It's like really muted, like kind of Sin City-esque, but just it feels very noirish and everything. I like the way Batman was portrayed in there. Like there were moments you don't even see all of Batman in there. It's like mostly like the cloak and all that.
Yeah, a lot of shadow work.
Yeah. And the thing that really stuck out to me were pretty much because, of course, reading this after seeing, all the other Batman stuff, seeing the little elements that they actually ended up using in the Dark Knight trilogy, like, of course, with the money and all that, and the meeting between Gordon, Harvey Dent, and Batman.
Yeah, I think that is my second favorite part of this issue. The first being that clap work of Johnny Viti is the conversation between Gordon and Batman. That feels very Batman to me.
Yeah, the Absolute Edition, I don't know if any later editions have this also, but opens with a dialogue between David Goyer and Christopher Nolan, actually.
I think because the trade I was reading had that in there also.
And they talk about the influence that it's then going to have on The Dark Knight.
Right.
But I mean, you can see influence of this book throughout, from Batman Begins, Dark Knight, and Dark Knight Rises. You can see how impactful this was.
Yeah, I think of all the Batman stories, this and Year One are what they took from the most. They took a little bit of Dark Knight Returns. I think this and Year One is where it took from the most. So other stuff that happens in this issue, or a couple people we get to meet, there's Salvatore Maroni is in there, which in here he is a direct competitor to the Falcones, whereas I think in the Dark Knight he's like
his
the
underling
number 2
or the next guy. Yeah.
Yeah, Eric Roberts.
Yeah.
Putting in Oscar-worthy performance.
Nobody gets both legs snapped like Eric Roberts.
Good Lord.
Yeah, my man got it the worst in that.
The fact that he survived that.
Yeah, I would not want to survive that. And then gets clapped up by the car accident.
Yeah.
Alberto Falcone's daddy issues. I guess he's portraying, you could say, like a mixture of maybe Fredo and Mike is kind of the way I took it. Doesn't want to get mixed up in the family business, or they don't want him in the family business, I could say.
They want him to keep his nose clean.
They want him to keep his
I feel like he's like kind of like the Buster Bluth, actually, of the family. It's not even that they want him to be clean. They just not you.
Him? Like you said, a little Selena Kyle action there, which, it doesn't, you don't see where it's going to spin off to just reading this one issue, but I'm like, why is Catwoman popping up in here all random? And their flirtation is just wonderful. Wonderful. In the Gordon's family life, we get a little bit of that, which I like to see, and Dent's family life as well. And of course, you get to see as always, the Bruce's promise to his parents. So yours opens up with a conversation between who? Goyer and Nolan?
Goyer and Nolan, yeah.
The edition that I have is Loeb reminiscing on how we got the job in the first place.
Loeb reminiscing on how amazing it is he still gets work in comics. I don't know. I love Loeb's Batman. I love Loeb's Superman for All Seasons.
That's Loeb and Sale too, right?
Yeah, the same.
I even liked his run on Batman Superman.
Yeah, no, that was fun.
Yeah.
But there is some Loeb stuff out there that I'm like, and I always go back to Ultimatum.
Yes,
I mean, like that's going to
every
be
time.
that
Is
is like
that
a
Loeb?
cancer
Yes,
hanging over
that was
him.
Loeb.
Yeah.
Loeb and Finch.
man.
Yeah.
Loeb is the kind of guy who's been just as responsible for as many terrible
He's
things
about-
as he has great things.
He's about on like Frank Miller level there. Yeah.
yeah. He's kind of like who's the guy? Akiva Goldsman.
Oh, we don't talk about him. We don't talk about him on this show.
Akiva Goldsman's written some fantastic screenplays.
He's also done some
Also some fart boxes.
You know, it's like Jeff Loeb is to like the comics equivalent of Akiva Goldsman to me. Like he's got his beautiful mind and he's got his Batman and Robin.
Didn't Loeb and Sale also do the all the Marvel colors?
Yes,
The
yeah.
Hulk Gray,
Yes.
Daredevil Yellow,
Yeah,
Spider-Man
Blue,
Blue, and
yeah.
Cap
White.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I do love that. Cap
That
White.
took forever to come out.
That Cap White?
Cap White
Yeah, it
took
did.
like a decade for them to finish.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. But
It's like Pineville.
some good stuff.
Well, who knows if that'll ever be finished. Anything else stick out to y'all in this joint?
So something something Germán said a second ago was the color palette, and I think that's a very deliberate choice in this first issue. That it's all very muted, it's kind of washed out a little bit.
Yeah.
And again, going back to what this book is really about, the transition from mobster Gotham to crazed theme villain Gotham, the color palette becomes much brighter and more primary as the book goes on and villains are introduced.
Yeah, it does.
So that's something that I really love about it. But yeah, there's one thing in here that I caught when I was reading it last night that I hadn't noticed before, and there is maybe it's an Easter egg. I have no reason to believe it was unintentional. But there's a point where Batman is chasing Catwoman through Gotham right after breaking into the Romans' penthouse. And they dive down, and they go past some signs, and right there is DINI. And
Paul Dini.
Paul
Yeah.
Dini wrote a lot of the Batman animated series episodes, so I have to believe that's probably a nod.
That's a nice little shout out for him. And also, I think right there on that middle panel right there is my favorite Catwoman response, because he's like, "Hey, get back here," and she's pretty much like, "Nope." That always gives me a good laugh. Let's talk about this whole thing is about Batman's fight against mobsters. Which do you prefer? Do you guys prefer the crazy costume themed villains, or do you prefer a more grounded Batman just trying to get organized crime out of Gotham? I think I actually prefer this a little bit more than the crazy over the top villains.
I love it most when they intersect.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, again, without giving too much away, what this book ends up being about, right? In a very visual, stark way, it ends up being about the intersection, and do these two worlds completely clash, or do they end up coexisting? And it's an interesting journey we go on. I think that the mobster stuff is always a great way to ground Batman in some form of reality. And I think that's why Batman Begins and The Dark Knight worked so well.
Yeah.
Because this existing structure is struggling to maintain what they've always done in the face of these new sorts of heroes and villains. And I think that's always really, really interesting. Yeah. But I think that's what lends itself to Dent being such an interesting character in this book too, because he's just as conflicted as, say, Carmine is.
Yeah, you see kind of early on Dent. He's
see those
more than
seeds.
willing.
Yeah.
You see the seeds. He's more than willing to start towing that line.
There's a really great shot of him on the rooftop where you see, and he's talking about the ways that Roman is able to subvert the justice system, and you can kind of see the way he's drawn. It's a half and half.
Yeah.
Right? You see his face and you see this other half that's just completely shrouded in darkness, and it's like it's
a little visual foreshadowing.
It's starting. It's starting.
It's like what they were trying to do with the Star Wars prequels with Anakin, but done much better.
Oh, you mean actually
The
succeeding
foreshadowing to
Yeah.
the foreshadowing to his eventual fall and turn into Two-Face.
here. Yeah. Dave, are you more of the overly flamboyant criminals, or are you more the down gritty street guys?
I tend to lean a little bit more towards the street crime. You know, it's very Spider-Man-ish, but of course, you know, Spider-Man has his rogues as well. But I, like Brian was saying, I do like when they intersect. That being said, I do, since I grew up in the Detective Comics era, I do like seeing more of Batman trying to figure things out, trying to, you know, kind of interrogation, that type of thing. And it also brings to mind that I think that meme that popped out a little while ago where he talked about, is Batman doing more good as Batman, or should he be doing more as Bruce Wayne? You know, should he be funneling money towards these different efforts to really help the community, or should he just go out there and beat the shit out of people, you know, hand to hand? You know, so just things like that. I think that groundedness really sells his character as a more of a. So he's not so supernatural, but there is a mythos about him, and he has a method to his madness.
Word. What about you, Joanne?
See, I'm kind of on the same camp as Brian. I kind of like when both the worlds kind of intersect, like, because I like seeing, you know, him dealing with organized crime and that whole like overarching like story of him trying to clean up Gotham, but yeah, those villains like really kick it up a notch. Like even seeing, because for me, like the mob bosses and stuff like that, they are kind of like the everyman characters to where they're just doing, you know, regular crime stuff. And you see some dude in a green suit doing wacky shit. It's like, what the fuck is this?
Who is this clown? It's like a Ghost Dog. Ghost Dog Way of the Samurai.
Yeah.
It's like we're just a bunch of old mobsters trying to listen to hip hop music and and whatever. And here comes Forrest Whitaker. What the hell is he doing?
Yeah. It takes everybody, like including Batman, out of his element. Like you're dealing with somebody who doesn't, you know, function with normal human capacities. Yeah, and that's part of the fun of, you know, seeing Batman trying to figure some of these villains out and their, you know, their MOs and everything.
Yeah, going back to what Dave said about the more noirish detective Batman, we really don't get that too much in the movies because they tend to focus more on the action.
Yeah, I mean, they only have but so much time to tell the story, so
Seed, you need to watch the animated series.
Yeah, he does a lot of detective work in the animated.
It is amazing. Yeah.
Like really, the closest you get in The Dark Knight is when he's trying to figure out where the bullet came from, and then he shoots the bullet in each of the bricks and whatnot. Like, oh, we got 2 minutes of detective work in this movie, and it's right back to Batman punching things in broad daylight.
Yes.
From what it's rumored, the Matt Reeves Batman that's being worked on is all detective work. So that'll be interesting to see how they play that aspect out. I guess to round it out, German, what do you have any kind of ideas or theories? Where would you like to see the story go next?
Okay, now reading that first issue, they made it seem way too obvious that Two-Face was behind this stuff.
Yeah,
that seems like a complete red herring.
There's the great scene, and it happens right after that first grid where Gilda walks into
him in the workshop.
Basement, and he's in a workshop that looks just like the workshop that where we see Holiday working on that gun. So
and it's a 22 pistol. I mean, come on, it's like
2 shots to the head. Couldn't have happened to a nicer guy.
Yeah, and just the fact that it's a 22. Come
on, man. So I think down the line, you know, of course, you're going to see Two-Face's, you know, fall from grace.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be doing some stuff to the mob, but he's not going to be responsible for that murder.
Okay, so you're thinking that's not Two-Face, not Harvey Dent.
Not Harvey Dent,
That killed those dudes.
But he's probably going to be out there on his own, you know, taking care of the rest of the mob.
Okay,
so who would you say, all right, so out of the characters in this issue and the way it progresses, would you say you have maybe 2 or 3 top suspects?
Question.
The only one I could really nail down, and it was probably the son that they didn't want involved in anything.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So your number one.
Maybe he's like showing, it's like, hey, I can do this. You know, I can. You know.
But that would make. What is Johnny Vitti to?
Well, Johnny Vitti's Carmine's nephew.
Carmine's nephew. So what? That would be his cousin then?
That would be that would be his cousin.
Okay, so that's Alberto's
Maybe it was
cousin.
Now remember, Johnny is called back from his honeymoon to kill Richard Daniel, the banker.
Right. He takes care of that.
and then 4 pages later,
He's dead.
Vidi's dead.
He gets clapped
Yeah.
up.
Right. So that's an interesting take. Anybody else you think?
Nobody else really stood out to me as a suspect.
Who's your number 1 and number 2 out of those two?
It would be probably the Sun number 1, Harvey Dent number 2, maybe, just by default. Yes, yeah. Just by
Interesting that
default.
Two-Face be number 2. Dave, how long has it been since you read this story?
Let's see. I originally got this back in probably I think I got this right when it came out, and then was it 96?
So the individual issues I think started in 96, 97, and then the collected version came out, I want to say, in early 99 maybe. I know that's when I bought it, was when they released the hardcover, because I came into this way too late. Like, I read about it in Wizard like 3 months in, and it was like the hottest thing on earth, and like you couldn't hunt down any back issues, and I was like, well, I guess I'm just waiting for the trade. 3 years, that was it. And you had to wait a long ass time. It used to be like
back
having
then,
to wait
yeah.
for like Home Alone to come out on VHS.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, well, it's like 1994 now.
The second one's already come out.
So you read it back when it first came out.
I read it back when it first came out, and then I got the trade, and I got the trade signed by Tim Sale at HeroesCon.
Yeah.
Mine is also signed by Tim Sale. Gotta see if we can get this dude to do a plug for the show on next year's Heroes Con there. All right, then. I think that about wraps up the first episode, issue, whatever you want to call this bad boy, of the Long Halloween joint. And how are you liking it so far, this first issue?
Oh, yeah, I'm in.
We're listening to this whole thing through your eyes.
Yeah, I'm totally in. That
Right?
first
Yeah.
issue, like that was a perfect first issue.
I'm a sucker for murder mysteries
Yeah.
in my superhero comics.
Yeah.
Like murder mysteries by themselves, I'm like, oh my god, well maybe he did it, he didn't do it. I don't care.
Yeah, the world
But when you put it
building
with,
was great. Yeah, it
we
was,
said the what?
the world building was great.
The world building is great. Yeah,
Yeah, it doesn't waste any time on anything you already know.
Yeah.
It just sets up the dynamics, the power dynamics, and the relationship dynamics among all of its principal players very, very efficiently.
It's coming in like, you know what Batman is. You know what he's about. You know all the famous characters. Let's just get right down to story.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot of setup is going on.
I would also like to point out that this pumpkin that's on the cover image of the first issue of Long Halloween, that is like my go-to pumpkin carving for Halloween every year.
Take a look at this pumpkin.
Like I always do that.
I will take this opportunity to talk about
I love
price.
that, man. What?
Take this opportunity to talk about price.
Yeah.
I have my trade, but I'm letting someone else borrow it for the time being. So I picked up this copy from Comixology, and it's on sale currently for $11.99.
Oh wow.
What's the cost of you guys? You got
it was like
the ultimate.
20.
You've got the ultimate version.
But I did
Brian.
get this.
Yep,
so
20.
I bought the original hardcover at cover price when it came out, and the absolute version, which is I guess got a cover price of like $99 or something. I got this for Christmas one year though. So
Very nice.
Oh, nice.
cheap is free for this guy.
You got to think about it. This is going to drop on Halloween, so it might not be on sale anymore.
Well, it may not, but just for our listeners, if you want to
bad
if you
form
want to
if they
grab
don't
this and pick it up and read along with us.
Yeah, it is DC Comics has recently been dropping a lot of black and white versions of famous runs of comics. There's a black and white Dark Knight Returns. There's a black and white Court of Owls, which I also have, and there's a black and white Long Halloween. The black and white Long Halloween, I do believe, is in the Paprika Comics library already. So, any of you listening, you can just message me if you don't know how to get to the Comixology Paprika Comics library, and you can read along with us issue by issue by issue. Good look out there, Dave. Good look out. And that's it, man. We're going to go ahead and wrap this bad boy up. We will see you come Thanksgiving next month for some. We get Snackin' Jackson will be at his height of his powers.
Snackin' Jackson.
Enjoy your meal.
Enjoy your
Yes.
meal. And we will have a little bit
Green
to talk
bean
about
casserole.
Cornucopia Armageddon.
Cornucopia Armageddon and Dipsgiving as well.
Dipsgiving is
Yes.
coming up. Dipsgiving,
Yes.
Bride of Dipsgiving is coming up.
Electric Boogaloo.
Until then, you guys take it easy. So Halloween, man. Halloween is upon us. Happy Halloween if you're listening to this the day that it goes up. If not, that's on you for being late. We're here talking about Batman The Long Halloween. It's going to be our limited edition podcast. Jeff Loeb, Tim Sale, if you've never read it, once again, that is on you. So being Halloween, man, let's go around the table and let's talk about some of our favorite Halloween outfits that we've done over the years, or maybe just some great ones that we've seen other people do. It's National Cosplay Day. It's pretty much what Halloween is. Do you guys remember any of your favorite costumes that you wore, or has Son of Brian done anything great?
Oh well, Son of Brian was an Ewok last year. We haven't quite figured out this, but I did come up with a costume that I definitely want to do, and it's related to this podcast at some point. I was like, maybe when he's like 8 or 9 or 10, I want to be the Waynes on the night they were murdered.
Oh, with the pearls and everything.
Like he's little Bruce.
Jacqueline's the pearls.
I'm Thomas. And
You guys
Jacqueline-
lay out in the
Martha.
in the yard while
Right,
she goes
yeah,
get
yeah.
the candy.
Yeah, that's what I want. I want to do that. And Jacqueline's like, that's dark. And I'm like, he's Batman, of course. Well, no, Miles loves Batman. So we were talking about potentially doing some form of Batman costume this year. And I was like, well, I got a really great idea. But he has to really be able to walk a little bit better first. Because, I mean, like, Bruce Wayne's got to be able to walk before they die, right?
You got to walk before you fight crime. I think that's the progression.
But when I was younger, I think it was when I was 10, because I think it was the Halloween after Batman came out. So it was 1989, and I have 2 younger brothers who are both twins, and one of them is in a wheelchair, and so we made his wheelchair look like the Batmobile and dressed him up like Robin. My other brother was Batman, and I was the Joker, and so that was a pretty
Nice.
It's a pretty dope year.
Nice,
I
yeah.
really like that.
You'll never be able to top 89. You've been trying for 30 years.
Yeah, no.
Never feel
That was it. That
You
was it.
peaked early. What about you, Dave? You remember any of your favorite costumes?
Yeah, everything from like trick or treating with my sister. We were zombies going around we did our own makeup at home, and by the time we got back home, it was looked like little cotton patches were sliding down our faces and whatnot. But it was fun. It was fun. Out to doing stuff with my daughter. Her dressing up as Super Mario for when she was much younger, and I was much taller Luigi.
That's a great one.
And to our one of our recent trick or treaters trick or treating, where I would dressed up as the kind of the Tex Avery big bad wolf.
Yeah.
And she decided she wanted to be she wanted to be like this punk rock fairy or something like that.
Yeah.
One time I dressed up as a preacher, and she dressed up as a little demon, and we took a photo of me holding the Bible out in front of me to block her trident, So.
Hashtag parenthood.
Yeah. And then to the adult stuff that we won't get into.
Whole different kind of cosplay over there.
totally.
Then my daughter has the worst ideas. It's the exact same. I want to be a princess. Like, come on, man. We gotta be a princess for 4 years straight. We gotta switch
Step
it
it
up
up.
a little. We gotta step it up, man. I haven't asked her what she wants to be. At the time of this recording for this year, but God help if she says princess. I'm walking. You figure it out yourself. You buy your own stuff. What about you, Javon?
Okay, I'm going to preface this by saying my mother, when I was a child, was cheap.
Oh yeah. Are we going to talk one of those plastic masks with that
Yes.
cheap ass rubber band and those staples holding it in?
Yes, my mother sent me. We had a little
Trash
Halloween.
bag suit. It
Towel
just
for
says
a cape.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles on the front. Like that's what they look like.
Even worse than that. We had one of those little Halloween celebrations at school when I think it was in kindergarten at the time. My mom got me a Batman mask, one of those ones with the string and all that plastic.
Yeah.
That's it. So I'm in there in a Batman mask and street clothes.
A Nike shirt.
Yes, bobbing for apples like an idiot.
You didn't even pull the whole towel as the cape.
Nothing.
Oh man, that's
Nothing.
It hurts, man.
Just the mask.
Well, now you're old enough that you can go. You can
Yeah.
go full fledged Batman if you
And
want.
see, yeah, and in later years, I remember '94, I was absolutely fascinated by the Crow, so I had to do that year.
Oh, okay, all right.
My mom did the face makeup and all that stuff. I had the trench coat and all that good stuff.
A little Eric Draven for you.
Yeah, and of course, like most people have probably seen on social media, because I kind of gotten a little more into Halloween, in my adult life now. Like, of course, I did Nick Fury some years back.
Yeah.
Luke Cage. I did do a Jules from Pulp Fiction one year, but I ended up in an emergency room before I was able to photograph it.
Okay.
Yeah, long story.
Jamon said what one too many times. They had different jewels. Only one of us, motherfucker. I cannot remember a single Halloween outfit I did as a kid. I remember, my mom was fairly lackadaisical. Not cheap, just like, I'm not doing this shit. Just go out there, get your candy, and come home, damn it. Yeah, so I don't remember anything I ever did. And then as I got older, that just kind of transferred to, why?
Yeah, I think I don't do it much anymore. I think one of the last times I remember dressing up for Halloween, I was zombie Kurt Cobain. And I was hoping I could maybe turn that into an annual thing where I was just a zombie version of a dead celebrity.
Oh my God, that's so dark.
Great idea, man.
It worked out pretty well for me that one year.
So you do Cobain, and then I'll do Hendrix this year.
There we go.
Every time I listen to, was it Come As You Are or whatever, he gets into that part where it's like, no, I don't have a gun. I was like, come on,
Come on,
dude.
Kurt. Who you
Come
lying
on,
to?
you stop lying. Stop lying.
Dude.
Yeah,
Come
yeah,
on.
yeah.
You can tell us.
Courtney Love wrote that line for me.
And one of
Don't say this shit.
I tried to make this costume work for years with a buddy of mine. We wanted to be the the two guys from the Beat It video, the two gang leaders
was in the
that were
knife
like
fight?
had their wrists tied together with
The
a
one that
knife
looked like
fight.
Lionel Richie kind of.
Yeah. I really wanted to make that costume work,
That'd
but
be
we
great.
could never get on the same page about it.
I wanted to do a Django Unchained group cosplay one year, but none of my white friends wanted to take part in it.
You're on your own.
No, they were like, we want no parts of this.
What is the go-to candy for getting mad?
I think
Reese's, man. Reese's, man. Come on.
I just wanted to make sure we're on the same. Dave, you're awfully quiet over there.
I am in a different camp.
Oh, okay.
Actually,
Heath bars.
I actually do really enjoy candy corn.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I mean, I do like candy corn. I'm not going to front. I enjoy it.
I will
but
eat some candy corn.
It seems like the world at large has turned against the awesomeness of candy corn.
Candy corn's decent.
I don't know
man.
why-
It's pretty
I don't
It's
decent.
these millennials, man. They're blowing up the feed, making people.
It's got to
See-
be it. I don't know.
There, of course, there's the rule of Halloween where the adults get that cut right off the top.
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
always Reese's,
The parent tax.
M&M's,
The parent tax.
Snickers. Yeah,
How
it's that
hard?
hierarchy.
You
Yeah.
got to make sure there's no syringes in
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
How you?
Not in that one.
How hard do you tax your daughter?
No, not very hard because she actually she kind of taxes herself. She's not a huge sweet eater. And so she'll ration her candy like for the rest of the year, and then she'll still have a little bit left over before Halloween hits, and then she'll go and get some more.
See,
last year,
Yeah.
last year.
Wow.
See, me and my cousin were smart. Like, when we would go trick or treating, we would go to my neighborhood, then go to his neighborhood. So we clean up with 2 bags at least.
Oh, yeah.
Stop by my grandma's at the tail end because she had all the M&Ms or the peanut M&Ms or whatever, and that's where we go and like kind of divvy it up, count, see what's what.
I think we could have a similar conversation about Thanksgiving next month. Gaming the Thanksgiving system.
You got to, we'll say that for Thanksgiving. All right, then.
What's the worst thing you ever got in a Halloween bag?
I have gotten an apple before.
Oh,
An apple.
I got a toothbrush.
I mean, it's not a bad idea.
Yeah, I get it, but I was
think
like, what the fuck?
I think I got one of those flyers for like a little booklets that talks about Jesus or something.
That's
like
it.
That was
That's it. Those little ones, they always look exactly the same. Those little Bible tracts. It's like I got one called Doomtown, and it was all about Sodom and Gomorrah.
Oh man, I just thought it's where Victor Vaughn hung his hat.
Somebody,
Now, no, go ahead.
yeah, we actually had somebody trick us once. Like,
Really?
Because the dude was sitting there and he had like looked like a little fake tarantula on his shoulder or whatever, and so we go up to him and all this stuff, and then the fucker starts moving and stuff. It was actual real
Oh
tarantula.
no! I ain't getting no candy from that.
If I wasn't
dude,
so terrified, I was like, "Where's the fuck is the candy, man? Come on!"
Now, do you guys give out candy, or are you just like
That was gonna be my next question.
you guys just leave out bowls for kids?
No, I don't trust kids with bowls of candy.
I have not
The whole
had.
bowl be gone.
In the 5 years I've lived in my place, I've not had a single trick or treater come to my house.
Yeah, what about you, Dan? Well, you just moved into your spot.
I just moved to my spot, but still, in years past, I hand out candy as well as comic books and manga.
Oh, man, we're stopping by at Dave's place. Yeah. What about you? Anybody?
Yeah, last year was the very first year I did it because I was in a house finally, and it was pretty. We had been in the house for like a month, and more than one kid was just peering into the house saying like, "You've been here for a month and you already got candy?"
Case of the joy.
I've got a job. I've got a job.
To which I said, "That was the first thing I got."
This guy's got his priorities right.
Of course, I have candy here.
Egg-free zone.
Yep. Your house is protected. I do not give out candy at my place. Don't really give a fuck about it.
You lock the screen door and sit on the other side eating the candy.
I have my door wide open, lights on, TV loud as fuck. I want you to know I'm there. But no, I'm not coming out when you ring the doorbell.
You're the Grinch of Halloween.
I'm the Grinch of many holidays, my friend.
So he's basically like, fuck them kids.
Pretty much.
So back to the question about who the killer is. Do you have another thought?
All right, well, that's going to do it for this Halloween episode of Batman The Long Halloween. We'll be back next month to talk about issue 2, which is going to be our Thanksgiving issue, and more Thanksgiving stories. Take care.